Well, we had a lot of discussion on the Monday meeting, and of course, we moved toward consensus building, decision making instead of voting. So, as everybody had an opportunity to go around the table and give their rationale or thoughts on the matter of why we should or shouldn't, eventually we rendered that everybody was in full agreement that we were not going to move forward with appointing anybody to fill that interim Grand Chief position for the rest of the term.
Yeah, and it was based on a number of different factors, some of which were already mentioned in the press release, as well as the segment that we did on KTV. Everything from looking at what was not in the election law, not in the governance documents, and also looking at the fact that Grand Chief is an appointment that is done by the community. Our team is not for us to decide who should fill that position, that it belongs to the community, and also to continue the mandate that has been given by the community when the election was done in 2018. One of the other things that was also considered was out of respect for Grand Chief, Judge Victor Gordon, that we would not name a replacement. So it wasn't just one thing, and as President Howie said, it went around the table and everybody had their own thoughts as to why we should not appoint an interim Grand Chief.
I'm just going to go on that. Just for clarification, in fact, in the press release, you guys talk about the election law, right? Is that part of the law? I wasn't sure if that, the decision was taken from that, or is that something in consensus, not related, that something stipulates that they could, within 1 year kind of a thing? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, the election law is actually silent as it pertains to even a by-election for Grand Chief. It only speaks about if a position of any of the chiefs becomes vacant within 18 months of the term. So if we're in the first 18 months, there would have to be a by-election. So that's written in the law. After 18 months, there is no by-election. So when you look at the elections law, it does have a solution when there's a vacancy. It tells you what to do. But the Grand Chief's position is different from the rest of the 11 chiefs. There's different roles and responsibilities, and it was silent on that specific position. So given the silence that was there, the discussion turned towards some other factors to consider to arrive at the decision that we finally did.
So how challenging, I guess, will it be for council over the next 10 months or so without having a Grand Chief?
Well, each of us has portfolio mandates that we everyone has a responsibility to look at that if there is an issue that comes up within the community. And again, if there are other major issues that come up, there will be the table that will decide what they're going to do.
In terms of when I spoke to Gina Wheeler, she's here. She, as in the past, she said that she would be in a role of, I don't want to say replacing, but is she going to continue in that role? Have you guys discussed that yet, or not yet?
Well, I think that was the whole premise of the discussion on Monday, right? If there's no designated individual person that is going to be deemed the interim Grand Chief, Chief Kirby just pointed out the fact that we have portfolios. So if there's a requirement to address the community or speak on behalf of a particular matter, we already know who the spokesperson would be, but as she said, if there's like a major issue, something that affects the whole community, I mean, we just recently went through the train blockade, and there was a requirement for someone to speak, on behalf of the community, on behalf of the table, then we would delegate and designate somebody. If it's going to be Gina, maybe. It could all depend on who has the most experience and knowledge, I guess, in whatever topic it is that arises, and then we'll go from there.
I guess my last question would be, this is more for the community. How are you guys doing? How's morale? I'm sure it's been rough these past few weeks.
Start down.
Well, Monday we all acknowledged the fact that 2020 has been probably the most challenging year that any of us have experienced. And that we all reconfirmed and made a commitment that we're going to do whatever it takes, to work together spirit of collaboration, and as Chief Rob mentioned, that we didn't, out of respect for Joe, we didn't want to proceed with putting an interim Grand Chief in. She already said that that's the will of the people and the voice of the community that appoints that person. So we're all just going to have to pull up our socks and do what we can to work as effectively and efficiently as possible. And I think that portfolio structure that we have in place will give us the tools to do that.
It is a major transition having the organization. Chiefs by year mentioned committed to work together and do things to start ensuring that there is the morale improves because of the adjustment that we had to make. Yeah, so it's definitely unprecedented times. I think that word is probably the word most used in 2020. I to be honest, the morale, of course, when I was first broke was pretty low, which is understandable. We've come to rely on each other a lot more heavily, not only work-wise, but for to support each other. For that morale, to bring it up and emotionally, and to just make sure that we understand everybody has an emotional taking an emotional toll on everybody. So I think we're doing pretty good in the circumstances, and we continue to support each other.